welcome to the Ellipsis Elite Show. I am Chris, founder of Ellipsis. Outside of that, I am a triathlete and I have a over 10-year experience in enterprise sales. The idea of Ellipsis is to combine the frameworks, the concepts from endurance sports, enterprise sales into one system to enable you to achieve your most formidable feat. Just before we dive into today's episode, where we're going to cover Vipassana meditation, and we are going to discuss what it is historically, how you can do it, where you can do it, but most importantly, what are its benefits? And it's fitting because I've just returned from a meditation session, and it is the first time that I have taken part in a sound healing class. And it was remarkable in terms of rebalancing the mind, calming the mind. Today is January 1st, and many of us are resetting after a couple of weeks of celebration. We are looking forward to the year with prosperity, with hope, and with ambition. And what a better way to kick off 2026 for us and the people that I've been spending my trip with a sound healing session. It was remarkable. If you have never tried it, wherever you are in the world, I urge you to try a sound healing session. And as a result, I need to rehydrate myself. Back onto today's topic, Vipassana. And before I delve into the details of what is Vipassana, how you can do it, where you can do it, and its benefits, I need to get back to the reasons as to why I felt the need to embark myself on this journey of self-mastery, the mastery of my mind, the mastery of my thoughts, and the mastery of the physical world, beginning with my own physical assets, my body. And we live in a world that is incredibly busy, that is incredibly demanding, and not only on the human body, but most importantly and more so on the human mind. We all know of the challenges that we face in today's society with people suffering from anxiety, from depression, from stress. And I always wonder if there was a solution to this world issue, to this world problem. And I was no different in the past. And roughly about 4 years ago, I decided that at that juncture of my life, it was time for me to take matters into my own hands. And I'd tried a number of different solutions. I've always been quite an active person. And there was just something missing within my life. There was just something, another level that I knew I needed to get to in order to master my thoughts. I used to be somebody who used to overthink quite a lot, who used to overprocess stuff from the past, and who used to worry. And at that point of my life, I decided that that was no longer a way that I wanted to live. And after doing a lot of research, a lot of planning and a lot of executing, I stumbled upon a meditation which originates from India called Vipassana. Now, we know India is the birthplace for a lot of the philosophy, for a lot of the practices that is today used in the Western world. For example, yoga, meditation, mindfulness. A lot of that originates from India. So I decided, what a better way to master myself than to travel to India and discover who I am and to discover how I can overcome myself, how I can control and master my thoughts. And Vipassana is an ancient practice dating back 2,500 years. The meaning of the word Vipassana, is to see things as they are. And how is that achieved? Well, the idea of Vipassana is you sit in silence. Today, it is a 10-day retreat, but historically, it used to be done for 7 weeks. For 7 weeks, the participants would sit in silence without the utterance of any words. And upon doing my research, as I discovered this, trying to wrap my head around the idea of sitting in silence for that length of time was quite a tall ask. And over time, the duration has been reduced. It went from 7 weeks to 6 to 4 to 3 to 2. And today, the majority of Vipassana retreats are done over 10 days. You could also find Vipassana retreats that are done over a 7-day period. And the research or the guidance from the masters is that anything below 7 days does not deliver the benefits of Vipassana, because it does not allow the mind to settle, to quiet as is needed. And there are many places in the world where you can do Vipassana. You do not have to travel to India to do Vipassana. You can do it pretty much in any countries in the world. Europe, America, Africa, and Asia. And I'll share some resources on where you can find more information about Vipassana. My experience with Vipassana, I can say unequivocally, saved my life. And I'll explain why. The whole concept, the whole process, and the whole journey that I had to go through to enter this state of mind was not straightforward. So my Vipassana was done in a place called Kerala. Up until that point, I had to travel from a different part of the world to arrive to India, and it was my first time in India. And with all of the expectations and with all of the previous knowledge or the previous information that I gathered on India, when you arrive to India, it is essentially a time capsule. And it feels as though many of the stuff that we're told or that we're used to in the West, you will not find in India. So that's the initial experience of somebody traveling to India. My journey took me from Mumbai, where I spent a couple of days, to the south of India, to a place called Kerala. And from Kerala, I then took a bus journey, which took me to a small city, a small town in the mountains. It was about a 4-hour bus journey to the city, the town of Munnar. And prior to that, having been in the bigger cities of Kerala and Mumbai, which, yes, can be quite chaotic, my expectation was essentially the same. I couldn't comprehend as to how can you create an environment which is peaceful, silent, and tranquil. But upon arriving in Munnar, I have never seen such visual beauty, such natural beauty. It is a place that is surrounded with tea fields, greeneries, mountain hills, rolling hills. So just from the moment you arrive in this town of Munnar, you're met with a sense of tranquility and peace. And everything just slows down. I decided to practice my Vipassana retreat in the foothills of a mountain, in a place that was next to a river. And for 5 days, I chose 5 days just because of time restraints. For 5 days, my process, my training, my practice was very simple. And being somebody previously was living in a world that's used to being reactive to a lot of external stimuli, what Vipassana taught me from day one was being at peace with, first and foremost, silence. That is the first element that will shake you, that will shock you, and that will take you aback. The process that I had was for 5 days, I would have no contact with the external world, meaning no phone, no talking, and no consumption of external food. The only contact that I had with humans were the caretakers that were part of the Vipassana retreat. So, throughout the stay, 3 times a day, they would bring me my meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that was that. So for 5 days, you would sit in silence, pure silence and isolation. The first day was the most challenging of my life because you are accustomed to reaching for your phone, to calling a friend, to doing stuff, and you are forced to be still. And once you can overcome that discomfort, for me, the moment that I seen the transformation, that I felt the transformation after 24 hours of sitting in solitude, in silence, something magical happened within me. I had a sense that all of the external noise and the stimulus and chaos stopped. And I was able to go in to myself. to enter an inner world. And it was the most incredible peace, sense of tranquility that I had ever felt up until that point. You understand the process of your thoughts. You understand the process of thinking. And it was the first time I was able to direct my thoughts. It was the first time I was able to dictate, to control the thoughts that I was thinking. It enabled me in a very short amount of time to understand the impact that my thinking has on my mood and how I feel. This would then go on for the remainder of the retreat. I would spend my days reading. I would spend my days walking in nature and just being in silence, being in solitude. And it was an escape into the infinite chambers that resides within you. It was the moment that I knew peace, tranquility, joy that I was seeking for so many years was not to be found externally. It lived right inside of me once I was able to conquer the train of my thoughts, the flow of my thoughts that enabled me to enter a peaceful place that since 4 years ago has been my default. I used to be a person who used to chase noise and chaos. From that experience, I know if things are a little bit challenging or tough, all I need is to find a moment of quiet and to escape not myself, but that peace for me and what Vipassana teaches its participants. It is retreating within yourself. That is the purpose. That is the teachings and the goal of participating in a Vipassana retreat. What you understand, what you learn is the most peaceful retreat isn't something external, it is something internal. That has had the most profound impact on how I now lead myself mentally and physically. It has also taught me patience, and it has taught me how to master my mind. There's an important detail about Vipassana that I was not aware of because it is something that is done as a gift. There is not a cost for Vipassana. The only cost that you will incur will be logistically your travels to taking part in Vipassana. And that's another major benefit of why this retreat, why this practice for anybody who is aiming to master their thoughts, to master their minds, and ultimately to master themselves. is indispensable. Doing that was the foundation to everything else that I have achieved since then. Personally, professionally, it has made me a better human. It has made me a better friend. It has made me a better son. Every role that I play in my life has been improved, made better by mastering myself. Now I'm in India for a second time, and it's quite fitting that after so many years, we decided to return to India. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt that is not the last time that I am going to return to this place, because it is the land that allowed me to find myself. And I know there are many of us out there who are on a journey of self-discovery and self-mastery. Do you need to come to India to find yourself? Not at all. Can you find the place of isolation wherever you may be? Absolutely. But that is the power that resides within isolation and silence, in mastering the self. That is Vipassana. On next week's episode, I'm going to talk through my journey of endurance races, marathons, how I went from somebody who could barely run 5K to somebody who has now run 6 marathons, multiple triathlons, ultra marathons, and how you could also achieve a similar feat.